To the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Can we please have roll call?
Maria Mills Benet. Here. Bo Bofamy.
I'm here.
Tom Jordan.
Here.
Lance Green.
Here.
Newton White.
Here.
Stan Schmidt.
Here.
Chair John Junko.
Here. And I'd like to have a motion for consideration of minutes.
Make a motion to approve minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
All right. Have a roll call?
Maria Mills Benet.
Yes.
Bo Bofamy.
Yes.
Tom Jordan.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Stan Schmidt.
Yes.
Chair John Junko.
Yes. Okay, first thing on the agenda is case number 21-50000002, application subdivision plat and plans, the Palms at Ashton Lakes.
Yes.
Did I get it wrong already?
Gwen Perney, planner. The request from the applicant is to subdivide the Palms at Ashton Lakes property into 2 lots. This was anticipated in the already approved MDA for the Ashton Lakes PCD, and this is carving out basically lot 2 here to be able to sell separately for future commercial development. Lot 1 will consist of the ALF that's already under construction, along with the shared infrastructure, which includes the driveway that was installed here along Williamson, as well as stormwater retention. They have conservation areas around this perimeter of the property. Staff is recommending approval of the subdivision. You have any questions?
We'll start with Lance first.
No, I think we've already seen this come before us. This is kind of what was anticipated was going to happen with this, making sure that, again, Lot 1 encompassed all the infrastructure that was needed to be able to put Lot 2 there. I mean, we knew this was coming.
Newton?
Nothing, thank you.
Stan?
Nothing.
I'm
No?
good, just a subdivision we knew about.
Bo?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Marie?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm also good. Okay, the applicant?
Applicants here, staff comments, or?
Yeah,
public
I
comments?
guess we have, yeah. State your name and address, please.
Roger Stracola, 265 Kenilworth Avenue, Ormond Beach. I might as well come up and speak. I drove down here for the meeting.
You don't get paid unless you speak anyway.
Kinda hard to
That's
know
right.
Without saying it.
As Mrs. Perney said, this was already contemplated in the master development agreement as part of the rezoning of the property. The record plat was resubmitted back to the city on this Tuesday, the 24th, in response to the August 4th SDRC comment. So unless you have any questions, I mean, I'm concurrent with the staff comments.
Well, we'll go on the other end there. Maria?
I'm good.
Oh,
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good
Tom?
too.
I think this is going to be a quick one.
We're good.
We're good? Newton?
I'm good.
Tom?
Okay.
Lance?
I'm good.
Good, everybody?
Thank you.
Well, yeah, that's it. Do we have anyone from the public like to stand up and talk about this case? No? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve case number 21-50000002. Second.
Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Maria Mills Benet.
Yes.
Bo Bofamy.
Yes.
Tom Jordan.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Stan Schmidt.
Yes.
Chair John Junko.
Yes. Okay, item 5, case number 20-6500000002. It's PUD rezoning, Madeline Commons Planned Unit Development, Master Development Agreement, and Conceptual Development Plan.
All right, Gwen Perney, planner again. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 34 acres from R2D to PUD, and approval of the Madeline Commons Master Development Agreement and Conceptual Development Plan. If the rezoning's approved, the MDA will set up the framework to develop 149 single-family unit subdivision. The proposed subdivision is generally consistent with the surrounding single-family neighborhoods with detached lots with a mix of 40 and 50-foot wide lots. The maximum proposed density for this subdivision is 4.3 units per acre, which is consistent with the existing future land use category of 4 to 8 units per acre. The conceptual development plan shows the general location of the lots, along with the proposed roadway network, which would be an extension here off of Madeline Avenue and Mcdonald, as well as a connection to 5th Street and a connection to Charles, basically an extension of 6th Street here. There are stormwater retention areas being shown, an area where they're saving some wetlands that are on the property, as well as tree preservation areas. There are 2 policy issues with the lots. Basically, they're requesting a minimum open space of less than 40% on the individual lots and a maximum building coverage greater than 40%. Common amenities are being provided throughout the subdivision to basically compensate for that loss of open space on the individual lots. And staff is recommending approval subject to the approval of the requested policy issues.
And Maria, you want to start off with any questions?
My biggest concern here is that is a lot of houses in that area, and once again, traffic on those little streets. That's a lot of little streets that isn't used to that. That's really my only concern, the traffic in the streets. And have they had a neighborhood meeting around?
They have, the applicant has held 2 neighborhood meetings
Okay,
with the surrounding residents.
got it.
Does that include the residents in South Daytona?
Yes, it included South Daytona residents
Okay,
in
okay.
both meetings.
All right, very good. Maria, you have anything else?
No.
No? Bo?
How do those meetings go?
The applicant's here to address any
Okay.
questions you have regarding the neighborhood meetings. It's my understanding they took their issues into consideration, and this project started out with townhome lots, and they've whittled it down to the 149 single-family detached lots.
I see. The only other question I have is what is the normal setbacks in Port Orange? Isn't it 30, 25, and 10?
For PUDs, it varies from neighborhood to neighborhood. With PUDs, you can request, the applicant can request setbacks that are different than a standard subdivision. So usually the larger lot you have, the larger setbacks you have from the lot lines.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good. Tom?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions for you. My concern, one of the concerns was about the setbacks. So we're going up to a maximum building coverage of 55%, and then the setbacks are dramatically smaller because you're going from like 25 and 30 feet down to 20 feet on the front.
It varies from neighborhood to neighborhood. With the PUD, you can request setbacks that are normally for R8, for instance, it's a 30-foot setback.
Right.
We have approved, the Planning Commission and City Council has approved subdivisions recently with 20-foot setbacks.
Right.
For the front.
And I had asked you this before, so I thought I'd bring it up because the one concern I had was about the stacking that they're going to create with the right turn. They're going to add a right turn. The developer is that correct?
Yes, they're proposing with the subdivision plat and plan, if the rezoning gets approved, to add an additional right turn in to the parent drop-off loop here on Charles Street to help get that traffic out of the actual travel lane on Charles.
And how many cars is that going to be able to support the way it's designed?
Probably around 10 to 12.
Okay. More than what they have now, that's for sure, right?
Correct.
Okay. Already covered that one here. On the right turn lane, so I know one of the questions or one of the concerns was that the construction not occur during school, while school's in session. Is there a requirement that they have it completed by a certain point in time?
Yeah.
So we know we get it done?
Yeah, it'll need to be constructed with the rest of the infrastructure for the subdivision. So it would need to be done before any lots are sold, for instance. Normally with subdivisions, you put all your infrastructure in first, which would include all your underground facilities and your roadways, and that all needs to be inspected and accepted by the city.
Okay, so that would have, so this would be part of that. It would have to be done before they start building homes?
Right, yes,
Okay, very good. And I saw they do have sidewalks on both sides in this one?
yes.
That's great.
Yes,
I'm
the
thrilled.
roads will be designed per city standard.
Very good. So on the coverage numbers, on the limits on coverage of the property, is that going to affect the ability for any homeowners, like put up patios, add patios later, add sheds? Because the maximum coverage is already kind of at the limit, right?
Yeah, basically it depends, if you have a bigger house, you're taking up more of your lot,
Sure,
which leaves
yeah.
less room for other impervious, so, you know.
So we're
it's-
leaving, we're kind of limiting it because of setbacks and
Yeah, the
building
way, the way
coverage.
that they're designed now, that there's enough room for some small, you know, like your AC pad or patio on some of the smaller lots. But again, it depends on what size of footprint of house they go with.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I have one more. So we're talking about giving them, pardon me, the higher coverage in terms of impervious coverage, but they're saying we're going to get more. They're going to get more enhanced common space. Where is this common space, and is this accessible to the residents somehow? Is it easily accessible?
Yeah, basically, they've got this large area between the back of these lots and the school that's going to remain a wetland area. So they have kind of like little pocket parks designed around the subdivision. There's little pull-off places at the mail kiosks, for instance. There's a historic tree here they're saving that's going to have a little walk-up area, and then potentially a sidewalk, you know, a walking path around this pond back here, maybe a little dock out to it.
And that's
so-
accessible from the street?
Yeah, there's sidewalks that connect to the street sidewalk.
Okay.
So
it's, it really is usable?
Mhm.
Okay, great. That's all I had, thanks.
Okay. Stan?
Well, kind of going into the whole lot coverage thing, and the setbacks. So the side setbacks are 5 foot, is that correct?
That would be
Is
the
that
minimum.
like, I'm sorry,
That would be the minimum.
yeah, and is that consistent with what we're doing, you know, because we had that issue out at Woodhaven, where we've had to move the air conditioning pads because of the size of the air conditioners. Is
Mhm.
that gonna be dealt with here?
I think they wrote that into their NDA. Let me check real quick.
That's because they moved it, they didn't want to put it in the backyard, they wanted them on the side.
Well, they want them on the side,
Yeah.
and they had to
Right.
stagger them so
Yep.
you could do the lawnmower slalom
Then
through
they
there.
did variance, yeah.
I believe they wrote that in here where I don't remember what section it is. Hold on for a second.
You didn't read the whole NDA?
I had it memorized, and then you guys made me forget.
You didn't know it was gonna be a test. huh?
Jedi mind tricks.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, they wrote it in here that there's gonna have to be a minimum of 8-foot separation between air conditioning units, for instance, or any other
Okay,
equipment
I just wanna
like
make
that
sure
back
we
there.
don't have to come back and rehash that fight we've already had once before.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're talking about in here is there's 5 wetland areas, and 4 of them are gonna be impacted, and so it looks to me, you know, the stupid accountant, it looks to me like that's basically gonna be on that 6th Street path there, that there are, the extension of 6th Street. Cause it looked to me on the one drainage map where you had a lot of probably lower areas, and they were gonna have to fill these in. I just kinda concerned that, I'm sure they've had engineers look at all this kind of stuff, are we creating flooding problems back in there? Because we're gonna be tying into Port Orange's drainage system, so do we have the capacity, and supposedly we do. And then, just from buying those lots, are we gonna be putting people on places where we're gonna be fighting water, in major rainstorms?
The engineer's here if you have like specific questions, but the
All
code
right.
does require for new subdivisions to be able to hold the stormwater.
Well, they
they're
gotta
required
hold
to
theirs, but I
and
mean,
then-
some of it, you're
yeah.
still gonna have runoff someplace.
Yeah.
And if that water was used to draining into certain holes, now we gotta fill in those holes, so we gotta, I'll save that for the engineer.
Okay.
And then again, the right turn lane, as you mentioned, it's kinda small, but you're kinda limited too, because you've got the street right there, so, you know, whatever we have is better than whatever this plan is better than what we have right now, so, I think for now, I'm good. Over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Newton?
Yeah, as much as I don't like the smaller lots, they're very common in our city. Woodhaven, Town West has 40-foot lots in there as well. 5,000 or even, I haven't noticed, but I'm sure there's probably some that are in the 4,500 square foot lot category somewhere else in the city. I know that there are right across Pioneer Trail in New Smyrna. So that is pretty common for the lot size and the coverage and the new construction that's going up in the region. And I just wanted to point that out in public forum. I'm also reading this on page 7, table 4. It's the trip generation table for the traffic. But it does show on that particular table that if we continued with the R2D zoning for duplexes, that they would be allowed 156 units, and by going with this PUD, we're paring that down to 149 housing units. So that's an actual reduction in the population, or the density, if you will. And
Those are the trips.
well, no, that's
It was the units too, it
No.
is confusing.
Yeah.
it is confusing.
No,
but
I
that-
see what you're saying.
That's talking the number of units. It says residential two-family units is 156 units, and single-family will be 149 units. That was just the easiest place to find and point that information out in the documents. The other thing that I have, if you go back up to page 4, table 2, the actual density per acre is 4.30, which is, without doing the math, it's pretty much right in the middle of the surrounding areas. So it's not much of a change on that. And I do like that it actually does, even though a little, reduce the number of doors that we're going to have in our city, front doors. And that's what seems to be important to a lot of people, that we hold back growth as much as we can. So I'm liking this for the most part so far. Thank you.
Lance?
I'll wait.
Well, maybe I'll ask the applicant, but do you know, does the builder have intentions of doing this all at once, or is he gonna be developing this in phases?
That's a question for the applicant. He
all
can
right, then
answer
I'll hold
that
my questions.
regarding builders.
All right, do you want to have the applicant up, or?
Yes.
All right.
I think I'm on here somewhere. Tim, is this me on the, or is this in the folder? Ah. Alrighty. Good evening, Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, attorney for the applicant. I guess to start with, I was prepared for a bigger crowd, to be honest with you, from the from the two neighborhood meetings. If it was any indicator, I suspected we were going to have a bigger showing. But to be honest with you, I suspect some of what we wound up doing addressed a lot of concerns, and I wanted to walk through that because there's a lot of history to this. Because we started this process in early 2020. You know, obviously COVID slowed us down a little bit, but there's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of meeting with neighbors that went into this. So it was very heavy-handed in citizen input, which is good. That's how it should be. So, that with that background, I think it'd be helpful for everybody here to understand some of the context that isn't as apparent just seeing, just the staff report and everything else. So, just to start with, we're talking about 35 acres. As Gwen mentioned, it's urban medium density, which allows up to 8 units per acre. It's one of the few out there for in pockets of, and it's a carryover from when it was annexed in, so it's always been that way. And that category obviously allows for multiple types of residential, and including mobile homes, multifamily, and as you can see from the R2D, that the intent is a duplex, which I think was quite a rub with the neighbors, and I can imagine why. That, there's nothing wrong with a duplex per se, but it does have its different community aesthetic and feel when you live in a residential community, for the most part, of just single-family homes. There are some duplexes that are, very fine people and everything, but again, it's collectively what's the mentality of how we would envision the use of this property. And another interesting thing, this is the old Mcdonald Farm, so it was cleared at one point. It's been a farm. It's one of those remnant enclave pieces, which is, I just thought it was an interesting little aerial here, just looking the difference from what's there now versus, I don't have the now up, but from what was out there for 40, 50 years ago. That's been the case for since then, and that this isn't there's definitely some environmentally sensitive areas we're trying to be conscious about, but at the same time, it was an old farm that, it was cleared. There's a lot of existing condition to that we're trying to work around, and it's hard to tell if you just drive by it. So some of the past plans, because this property has an interesting history where this was at one time one of the punch throughs for what Madeline used to be the extension through the city. And there was an original plan in mid-2000s for about 210 units, and it was townhome units. Not opposed to townhomes, I like townhomes too, and some of the plans we proposed did incorporate townhomes, but that one didn't get off the ground, and it was shelved. So fast forward 2020, we're looking, well, how do we make this work to where we can make a very nice development with additional amenities, with a clubhouse, etc. And really the feasibility of that depended on townhomes. And that's a product that people like, they want, but as the discussion continued with the neighbors, it was clear that the community didn't want it, which is fine. That's not a big deal as long as the trade-off is understood that, units do have a correlation to what you can do out there. That, I can't build you everything if, there's only, a handful of homes. So, but they understood that. It's just trying to work to where we can compromise with the neighbors on what makes them happy for their future, but at the same time is a feasible project. So you can see we started at 254. We started working down. We added pocket parks. We said, okay, how do we try to finesse this to where we're trying to incorporate a mixture of townhomes and single family? And the 209 units was our third submittal, and there's a theme to this, it keeps reducing. And that was the plan that resulted from the first meeting with the neighbors, because density, homes, traffic, these were all concerns they brought up. And some of the stuff we said and took away from is that, well, okay, let's see if we can pare down the townhomes, and how do we slow down the that curve at Madeline, because it's dangerous. You can fly by it and not realize. I'm sure people are well-intentioned, but it can be dangerous. And one of the suggestions from our traffic engineer is, well, the roundabout accomplishes that, because you get two benefits with that. You get the added addition of keeping traffic moving and easing traffic speed. So that seemed to be the best of all worlds. If you're trying to figure out how to manage and control some of what is probably happening out here with the stacking, and also folks flying through when it's non-school hours. So that went forward with the neighbors. It's a mixed bag of depending on what they want. Some of it is, I think, an understanding of how roundabouts work and what their function can be. And I'm not necessarily advocating one way or the other. I'm just telling you the position of the engineer about what's probably the best alternative. But that's not to say you can't do it in any other way either. The fourth resubmittal, again, same consistent theme. This was what it looked like that we showed the neighbors. Just so you get a sense of, I don't have updated elevations, which is I just wanted to give you a sense of what we were looking at and ignore the townhome parts of this until we got to here. So we're about 6 or 7 different versions of this, and then we said, you know what, it's a lot easier if the neighbors, if what makes the neighbors happy and what we can do feasibly is single-family homes, we can make that happen. So what we decided to do is redesign the townhome portion of this, make it single-family, keep the roundabout, because the roundabout makes sense. We're not necessarily, as you'll, if the traffic engineer can probably echo me here, we're not creating this necessity either, but this makes sense about fixing the existing condition. And the other part to this, the right turn lane. Well, I actually went out there with some folks, and even staff went out there just to check to see what's happening during school hours. It was a little funky because of COVID and everything, but I can see how an additional right turn lane would add some stacking and add some benefit to folks out there. And while we're at it, since we're going to be doing the infrastructure, we're happy to help and contribute and make sure that the monies that the city's impact fees are generating, that we get this improvement done because it makes sense. The other thing I think that, as I think I heard Newton mention, was the alternative. That what we went ahead and did, because we were curious what it would look like, is we said, what does an R2D plan look like? And this is a proposed R2D plan. It's not very pretty. It meets the minimums. This would be an example of one that meets the minimum code requirements, 15% in terms of tree preservation. It would have the additional 40% on each lot, but that's the minimum. You don't get an overall open space. You don't get any amenity features. You don't get any of the other bells and whistles like traffic improvements that come with a PD rezoning. So it's weighing alternatives in some respects, because if this gentleman who's looking to develop this doesn't move forward, well, for some guy in some price, this is probably feasible. So, and it's not a threat in any way. It's just, you say sometimes the unintended consequence of where you're trying to work towards. So, and there's also no requirement for an HOA. That's a big thing for us too. We have an HOA. We want an HOA. We want to control the aesthetics, the community, make sure that the quality is maintained, that there's maintenance. So that's a huge part to this project that we're trying to keep. So, like I mentioned, better community design. You get the enhanced pedestrian and traffic improvements. There's a conscious effort to try to preserve those wetlands that are functioning. I think the other thing to keep in mind too is, if I remember correctly, the one off of 6th Street is a very isolated wetland that has poor flow, so it doesn't function well. So mitigating for it makes some sense. Where the larger wetland on its own does have some it's functioning well, so it makes sense to try to design around it. And again, the HOA requirements, etc. Here's some examples of what we were throwing out there as potential of what something could look like, to give the residents at least an idea of what could be out there. The other part to this, and that was something they saw too. The other thing is to keep in mind is we've had the 2 neighborhood meetings, very well attended, from both the Port Orange and South Daytona. Obviously the first one had a lot more folks out, and then the second one, partly because we worked through a lot of the issues, and then the second one worked through some more issues, and we've been trying to keep in contact because I will take any call from any of them and try to return it promptly to just walk through issues. And some things you just can't fix, or we're going to agree to disagree, but we can all work together. But the main concerns that I think we took away is that we can make it a single-family home development. We can construct traffic improvements to help the existing condition out there, and we can reduce the density of what's possible out there. So, those were the big wins that I think that we can help the residents with, in that, with a quality community, that makes sense, and it's a place that we were all happy we got to. But other than that, I appreciate staff's work on this, because it's been many resubmittals and many, I'm sure, hours of reading and working through resubmittals to help us get to this point. So the recommendation of approval is I think we're very appreciative, and that this PUD, I think the long and the short is, there's a lot of concerns that we've managed to address and fix for the neighbors. It's not perfect. I'm first to admit that, but it gets to a point where everybody's at least comfortable where we ended up. That it isn't the situation where it's straight zoning and then somebody pulls building permits and does whatever they want to do with their duplexes. And that, I think, is a big benefit for the city, and hopefully the same benefit that you guys see too, but I'm here to answer any questions. The traffic engineer is here too, and I also have the project engineer. So if there's any specific questions, like concerning the water flow, et cetera, he'd be better equipped to answer that, and the same is true of the traffic engineer. But I'm happy to answer any questions about the project that, or clarify anything for you guys. So,
Lance, you want to start?
In the HOA documents, does it talk about parking? Are you allowed to park in the streets and things like this in front of these type of homes?
well, we originally were talking about that, and if I remember correctly, we wrote in that that's not required, correct, Glenn? If I remember correctly? Right, it's required in the covenants that we wouldn't be allowed, because I think there was a discussion about what the city's position is versus what we're allowed and not allowed to do in terms of parking. But I'm open to suggestions.
So what was the answer again?
I believe it's
You're allowed
no.
to park in the street at night?
No, I believe it's no.
Okay.
But but I'm open to suggestions.
I'll be honest with you, one of the things that concerns me when we get into these smaller lots, and it's gonna be about cars and traffic and people living next to each other, and making sure that when it's all said and done, that we don't have another situation like we have in Water's Edge where you can't get down the street.
Sure.
And I wanna make sure that access and, these are the kind of things that make, I like the project. I don't like the smaller lots, don't get me wrong, but having the HOA and having this PUD, I think, makes it a better project. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to answer your question real quick. They're gonna be public right-of-ways. They're gonna be standard 50-foot wide right-of-way. Originally with the townhomes, they had a private right-of-way going through it, but I think we were
That
gonna
was
go straight
yeah.
on. But with the 40, 50-foot wide lots, there's gonna be enough lane width in order, they're still gonna have the parkage and the sidewalk and just like a regular city street.
Well, and if it means anything for our purposes of our covenants, I'm open to the suggestion either way. In that, I can't necessarily control the public part of this, but we're happy to enforce it in the way that makes sense from your guys' from a perspective of what policy should be. So,
Well, and again, when we get the tighter lots, that's the thing. The tighter lots, they have the smaller driveways. It's harder to get the car.
Sure.
I get it, and we're stuffing people in there. But what I don't want to create here is another issue where we've got cars parked all over the place. Emergency vehicles can't get through. These kind of things. But I mean, having a PUD on it and to be able to control it, I think is better than if it was straight zoning.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I like it being single family in lieu of the townhome. So I just don't like the smaller lots. I get it, but we've minimized it to about the minimum amount of
Yeah.
lots you're going to be able to get to
and
do
that
it. So.
that's exactly right. And I think from our perspective, we're trying to keep this feasible. We actually did have another amenity feature we had to pull off just because you can't make the numbers work. But again, that's it's the part of, if the concern is the homes, it's the number, then from our perspective, we can make it work. It's just again, it's a numbers game in some respects. So
Well, here's the deal too. We all know this as we sit on this panel, is that there's very few places to build a house in Port Orange anymore, and we've talked about this with other projects. These infill projects like this, we need to make as best as we can make when it comes to the product of Port Orange, the tax base and what you're looking to get, and a sale price. I get it. So with that, we need to make it as nice a project as we're going to be able to get, in lieu of just flattening and putting strip homes on
perfect,
it.
and that's exactly right. And the HOA is the mechanism to control, to make sure the aesthetics are controlled, to make sure you have the maintenance of buffers, etc. Even the amenity areas, the parks have to be maintained by somebody, and that that's a lot of that goes into the value as a community that doesn't get controlled otherwise. If you just simply straight zone or have a project that doesn't have that kind of maintenance entity. So that's why we're happy to do it, and that makes sense from our perspective too, because this is an importance for the developer too, that you don't want to just you're not trying to convince somebody to move in just to convince them to move in. You want to convince them to move into a good neighborhood that has quality just quality amenities. So
That's all I have, John.
And all that maintenance of the common areas just gets swept into your homeowners
Right.
association dues.
Yeah.
So it's not the
Exactly.
city version, it's gonna be their
Right.
thing.
That's all I have, John.
Okay. Newton?
I have to say that the absence of a public participation audience this evening, it would seem to speak to your cooperation with the neighbors in making this happen. I'm surprised that anything that has a roundabout in it hasn't garnered.
Well, and that's the part of this that we've had a lengthy discussion about it, and I'm sure that it will still be discussed in some manner, and that understanding the reasoning, understanding the importance of it, that the alternatives are either roundabout or T intersection. It's really the trade-off, and you either get a stop motion or you get a roundabout that allows for flow in all directions, and it may not be perfect, but it makes sense.
In time, people, I've been out to the pavilion quite a bit, and people have adapted and have figured out how to operate that roundabout, and I'm sure that this will be no different. There was one thing that I do like what you've done. You've got plenty of open spaces. You're putting a little dock in on the wet retention pond with the fountain there. You've put quite a few of those features in there. I grimace, like I said, I do grimace with the small lot sizes, but I have to say that they're common. They're everywhere, and that's the majority of what's being built.
And the other thing too is small lot doesn't mean lower quality. You can still do a very nice
absolutely.
Standard home with minimal maintenance in the landscaping and those kind of features to it, but do a very nice home. So, and that's the goal. It's not to sacrifice the quality of what you can build there.
There is a desire for it, and there's a market for it, and there's people that would rather have this than a single family attached home, because they want that air gap between them and their neighbor. And then there are other people that want 50, 100, 200, 2,000 feet air gap between them and their neighbor. And that's what's the great thing about our city, is we have all of it right here. No, I really don't have a whole lot for you. Thank you very much.
Stan?
Well, my questions, I guess, again, went back to the drainage area, and what I was thinking about is, because along that 6th Street area seem to be where the 4 areas where we're gonna have to deal with. And it's not just the people in here, but are we gonna have, I know we gotta control the outflow as much as we can, but if that's already a low area, now we've got water from not this project coming into that area. So have we figured out how to handle that?
And that's probably a question better answered by Harry, the engineer. So.
Oh, come on, lawyers know that stuff.
I pretend to know it.
He's an attorney.
That's what we do in court, come on.
Harry Newkirk Engineering, 1230 North US Highway 1, Ormond Beach. Stormwater, very good question on this site. We're going to meet the rules of Port Orange, St. John's, and we do have some low areas. And when we analyze this, we look at the 100-year flood, we look at the site, how much does it hold right now, and it will push off in certain locations. Then when we design, we look at the 100, we hold on site, and when we discharge less volume off the property. And what I'll tell you about this site, and which is coming pretty well, I wouldn't call it popular, but all over Florida right now, is our bodies of water we discharge are becoming impaired bodies of water. What does that mean? We're talking nitrogen and phosphorus. So what does that do for stormwater? So your typical wet detention pond only removes 63% nitrogen and phosphorus. That's the old school way of doing it. Doesn't work anymore. Because when you do a development like this, they want you to remove 98% nitrogen and phosphorus. So you got to do a combination. You got to do dry retention to wet, and do bioretention in natural areas. You can create some really nice stormwater features that at the end of the day increases the amount of stormwater we got to have on this site. Your standard stormwater won't work on this project, won't work on a lot of projects already developed. If you were to do them again, you'd have more stormwater, because we got to remove that nitrogen and phosphorus. And the way I look at it is usually, rule of thumb is like, you take a site and you do 15%, and if you draw your ponds and you got 15% area on it, it'll work. Well, with this, you're looking at 20, 23%. So when we do our stormwater, we'll actually have a lot more than we would need to satisfy Port Orange criteria.
So that's those whole dry retention areas between Sixth Street and the school, and then on the,
Right.
on the north end of the project, you've got that whole dry retention area.
You gotta do that, and sometimes they make you put filters on the discharge points, and probably the city's dealing with that in some of your discharge points to actually help out remove those nutrients, as years and years of fertilizers and everything on the properties is causing some issues, and they're working hard to fix it, and it's not easy. I'll tell you, this is, since this BMP nutrient loading came into effect, it's been a bear to design, and it's difficult. And some of the ways to solve it are very expensive. They cost more than public lift stations. So we got to meet that criteria. That's good for the surrounding neighborhoods because it increases what we hold on site, and we have to meet it. And St. John's is very smart with it, and it's a very difficult permit to get right now. It's going to take probably 3 or 4 submittals with St. John's to come into agreement.
So is that what, I noticed along Sixth Street, and I'm looking at the bigger map where you've got your
Sixth Street.
drainage and all that.
Yeah, so
So you've got these 20-foot drainage retentions, drainage easements every once in a while, but the lot sizes look the same. So does that mean you're gonna have a swale between the two houses where it's gonna be more of a, to pull the water out of there? Is that what's going on, or how does that work?
those areas there is what ends up happening is when you have a lot, you do 20 feet, that gets the city's pipe into there, the drainage pipes, and we design
So you can
the
do
project.
maintenance on that.
We'll have to dedicate those to the city as it's public infrastructure, so we need 20 feet. But we will have swales on the sides, and we got to come up with all kinds of solutions to remove the nitrogen and phosphorus. It's I don't know.
Well,
if
that's
you
just,
think,
I just saw those and I thought, okay, these are the ones where we've got problems with drainage already.
yeah.
So what you're telling the developer and what you're telling us is that this plan will handle that. We should be in pretty good
Absolutely.
shape.
We will handle it, and we will show a net improvement off the property with 100-year floodplain.
And
We will
even
show.
if, because that's kind of a low area, so if we're getting water coming in, I'm alternating directions on this thing. I think it's east, Fifth Street, whatever, in that area. So we've considered that too, because
We-
do we have to put more pipe along Fifth Street then to handle their stuff, or is
Yep.
that the city's problem?
We'll
Or is that you
have,
guys?
when we do this development, we'll be doing some infrastructure off the property. In any location we mess with a ditch, we fill it, we'll have to put pipe in there, large sized, designed for the capacity. Usually over-designed, to be honest with you. You don't just design right on the money, that would be just bad engineering. And then put some conveyance inlets and that, so we're doing a net improvement, because we're doing a right turn lane there, and we want to do the right-of-way in the right way. We do a lot of work for DOT, so we'll design that per city DOT standards to meet the right flows with drainage capacity. It's a big deal for us. We don't want to have issues. We don't want to have an issue after this project with the neighbors or whatnot, so we'll take a lot of calculation, a lot of looks at it, so we don't cause an impact. And the calculations will show, like I said, the amount we have to put on the site is all the new stuff's doing it, so all the new projects are holding more. And I think a lot of the citizens, from what I know, they're concerned about stormwater. They're all the surrounding areas, and the city knows a lot of these areas because they don't have stormwater. They're low. And then the city, even if your city programs, you go through, and that's where y'all will buy some houses or whatever, and build ponds. So these new developments aren't gonna have those problems. It's really those outside areas that don't have stormwater over time have issues. So with the new stormwater rules, we'll be fixing it because we'll have extra volume, and we gotta show that we are not impacting surrounding properties at
And
all.
we've got to hold all our stuff too, so we won't have problems with the neighbors that we're pushing water into their backyards. We have to do that anyway.
That is true. The nice thing about this development is we're surrounded by the school, which is good. And the exterior to the north, they have a stormwater system. And we're dealing with Fifth Street, Sixth Street, and like you said, those wetland areas. We will show in our calculations that they don't hold water from outside properties. We actually displace, when we run 100, we're flooding people out on this site. So when we do this development, that water's gonna stay instead of just you know, instead of just flowing right off. So we'll do a net improvement to the area for stormwater.
I guess enough
Sure?
for me for now. Gives nobody else a chance.
Yeah, I appreciate it, yeah. I know it's
Thank you.
really complex, but we'll design it
You
the
might
right way.
stay up here. These guys might have some questions for you too, if you like.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. It was an excellent presentation. I appreciate what you said. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bo?
The only question I have, or actually I've got two. One is, you mentioned that the school helps with the mitigation of with the water, the runoff of the water. How does that work?
Well, what I meant is,
Just
it's
thousand-
not we're not gonna cause any flooding issues on the school, but it's not a resident.
Uh-huh.
That would, if that whole area was surrounded by residents, it would be more problematic.
You're not running the culverts onto the school property.
No, we're not doing any of that.
No,
They
they
would-
wouldn't like that at all.
No, they won't like that. No,
Yeah,
we're,
I
not-
was kidding.
we're definitely not doing that. If anything, we'll be good neighbors with the school as we do that right turn lane, and the roundabout will really help out a lot because, and we designed some for DOT, and what it really does is it's safe. You're not going to have accidents that lead into fatalities, and really, well, you'll see DOT doing most of them, or when they have a lot of serious accidents. And here it's a traffic calming, and it slows people down. Where these kids are walking the sidewalks, we had a lot of neighbors very concerned about sidewalks. So those kind of things with slowing traffic down and safety is why we chose the roundabout, and it's becoming more and more popular, and people are starting to figure it out. So.
And I also wanted to mention to Bo that the school has seen this plan too. As part of our neighborhood, reaching out, that we actually talked to the school representatives,
Oh, that's
which
great.
doesn't
That's
typically
good.
happen,
Yeah.
and so they are aware of this design.
Well, I was kidding about the culverts. So
They
anyway.
would have noticed them.
Yeah, they might have. I don't think Gwen would have let you get away with that.
Right.
But anyway, the other question, or actually, is a request. Can we see those elevations again?
Sure, of course. Oh, where's the keyboard? Oh, there it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
We gotta switch the screen.
Yeah, I don't have that power anymore.
I have it up. I'm not sure if you guys
We
can
don't,
see
we
it.
don't have it on our monitor.
Oh, well, okay.
Is that
That's
the
why we look
control
kinda
booth?
We can't
confused.
see
Yeah, I
anything.
just messaged.
Whatever you're seeing there, we're seeing here.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and we don't,
Well, when
we're
it-
looking at ourselves right now.
Well, when it comes up,
Imagine if you will.
imagine. Well, right, exactly. There we go.
Come on, man.
Are you okay
have a
with
roof.
this little?
Right.
The front door.
There's a door.
The window.
Two-car garage.
You wanna proceed to Marie until we see if we could get this,
Well,
I think you get
and
your
I could,
elevation?
and I could briefly mention that, the ones I did show you are examples of what we would like to see out there.
Is that the kind of style you're going to
Yes,
be building?
and it depends on,
Stone
it depends
fronts.
on the builder,
Okay.
but we really, this is the ones we're trying to aim for, so, they're nicer, I don't wanna say affordable, but it's at a price point where I think that, folks can be happy and at the same time get a quality home, so.
All have two-car garages.
Exactly,
Yeah.
get the two-car garage, you
Yeah,
get, yes.
okay.
Mhm.
Good. That's
Two
all
in the
I have.
garage,
Thank
two
you.
in the driveway.
Maria?
Yep.
The pocket parks, are those gonna be open to anybody that lives in the area, not just the neighborhood?
I don't see why we would restrict it, to be honest with you. I haven't necessarily asked the client and the developer whether that, but if they're gonna be maintained by the HOA, I guess it could be within their purview to say, well, we maintain it, but
That's what
I
I
mean,
was-
they front a public right of way, so I don't, that's not been contemplated, but I don't see why the public couldn't use them.
I was just curious. The roundabout, I was a little confused. Are you, I have a friend who died on that corner that I went
Oh,
to school
gosh.
with, on that Madeline Avenue corner. So are you doing the roundabout on the actual corner on Madeline, or just the entrance to the development?
Well, if I understand correctly, it's all of it, so it's the whole improvement. So but it shifts a little bit, if you look at the plan, it shifts a little off-site. So then there's right-of-way there to encompass it, but the road has to be somewhat changed, the angle has to be changed a little bit to accompany it. But,
Okay.
you know, we're doing a lot of improvement on our site, but there is a little
You got it.
off-site
There you go.
with,
But you're really talking about where Madeline, McDonald, and the new
correct, yes,
street
and then the
come
new
in,
street
that
will
whole
bump
thing
into
will
it,
be-
correct.
I would, cause I'm just trying to picture, you know, people are still gonna have to like turn in to get to the roundabout to the entrance if there's not an actual roundabout on Madeline.
Well, it'd be off of Madeline, it'd be a three-way connection point, so you'd have it off of Madeline, you'd have it on McDonald, and you'd have it on the new road that's being connected to it, so it'd be a flowing right around
Okay, I see what
as
you're
it
saying.
flows, and you get off according to wherever you wanted to get off.
I see what you're saying. Okay, all right.
Or when you figure it out.
And when you figure it out, exactly. You're
Right.
welcome to venture on it as
Give
long as you
up.
like.
Okay. I do like the density is increased. It just seems like a whole lot of house crammed on that property. And I'm sure it looks that way to me because
Well, it is.
it's such small lots. And I don't care how common it is in the area. That
Sure.
doesn't make it a great thing, so.
Right. Well, and just so for a little reassurance, we're exceeding tree preservation, we're exceeding the open space, we're exceeding common open space. The only
That
thing,
makes me happy.
Well, and those are the things that we think, those are the trade-offs, that's, if the smaller homes, the lots, not a smaller home necessarily, but a smaller lot, that the trade-off is, well, you have a little more common community amenities that supplement that trade-off. And those are the
Right.
things that we're trying to stress rather than, just because of the market. You know, those are the folks that are trying to, you know, they want to utilize those homes. They don't necessarily want the same yards that have been traditionally been associated with a larger lot. And
I grew up here, so I always picture those roads as so small and old and frail, and now you're throwing all of this traffic on there, you know, so
I'm in the
like,
same boat. I grew up off Madeline.
yeah, I used to tip cows on Mcdonald Farm, so.
Oh, there you go.
there's
You
that.
beat me. I didn't do that.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
Okay.
I'm good.
You good? My questions are in regards to the development. Is this going to be done in phases, or is it going to be all done at once?
One phase.
Okay. The houses that are facing Fifth Street, are they going to do all the development from the opposite side, or are they going to? How is the traffic going to be on the residential side of the people that are currently there?
Oh, I see. That's an interesting question, and maybe Harry, can you maybe give some insight of what you've seen in the past? I can't speak. I don't know, to be honest with you.
So that's a great question. The construction will put silt fence around the entire boundary, and all construction will be from our side.
Okay.
So we won't be
On the
on
road?
Fifth Street, but
Oh.
we'll have to at the end because we're going to be making, well, when you first do the subdivision, you get all the utilities in place, so we're going down there to run utilities. But we'll be working all from the edge of pavement on our property, so we'll not have any
Okay.
construction vehicles on that road, so the road can stay open, because we gotta keep that road open for the residents and emergency services.
Yeah.
We cannot shut that road down, and if we do, we gotta do an MOT plan and coordinate it with the city and police and whatnot to make sure it works within the realms of DOT maintenance of traffic standards. But the goal is going to be to do it all on site, and it has the least impact to the residents that are using the roads during construction.
I'm assuming they're gonna use Fifth Street for delivery materials, block. Concrete trucks will be going on that side, especially when you're pouring the driveways.
That's when we're pouring the driveways
Yeah.
after it's they wouldn't
Yep.
be going down Fifth Street because the other houses could be built on the other
Yeah.
side.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, all in all, those are the questions I had. I mean, I appreciate giving us the timeline and the history, because from the first phase to what you guys got now, and I agree with Newton with the turnout that we have here today, this is a perfect example of a win-win opportunity where the city has worked. I commend the city guys over there for working with you guys, and you guys working with the residents. Everybody worked together, and we are seeing something quite attractive and appealing, and nothing makes me happier to see something like this with such a, there was a lot of care and time put into this, and I'm pretty certain you really catered to quite a lot of people, especially when you're dealing with two cities.
Right.
So that
That's been
to
the
me
fun
was
part.
very impressive. So I have more of a, commend you guys for what you did, because that shows that you guys worked. Do we have any?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a couple more questions?
Okay.
So Harry, a couple questions for you. So when we're talking about, so where's the water service for the houses that are gonna face Fifth Street coming from? How are you gonna run the water services and where's the water meters?
Well, down Fifth Street, we'll have to run a water main down there, fire hydrants, and then the meters will be at the property line.
Basically in the right of way of?
Yes.
So how are we gonna pick up the drainage that may be coming off the asphalt of Fifth Street?
So Fifth Street, we're going to do some public stormwater system. We'll have inlets in the right of way, and we'll pipe it to the ditch. All that will have a nice clean to the current standards drainage system.
Because let's just say Fifth Street's got a crown in it, you're picking up from half of the street to your new side, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then when we grade our lots, we can't our lots can't grade and just go out in the right of way. We got to hold it. So
Right.
we'll do. That'll be the real trick to the design. We'll do a lot of details to show how that's going to work, and we can't discharge straight off. So,
Because that's what I see in, like, in back to Stan's thing, the houses that are along Fifth Street and the drainage along Fifth Street is gonna be the challenge. The rest
Correct.
of it obviously is on your property and you're able to pick it up going to the west, but, okay, and then I got a question for you, Joey. One more. So there's gonna be an HOA. Who's gonna own the underground pipe when it's done? I mean, is the city own it or is it
Well, it'd be
HOA
the
own
city that would own the pipes, presumably, for the stormwater improvements? Yeah,
Yeah.
the city.
it? Okay. All right, that's all I got.
You good? Do we have anyone in the public that would like to come up and voice some questions? Sure. Please state your name and address.
I was gonna ask those guys if we could see those elevations, too, like Bo asked.
Hi, Janice Nixon, 831 Second Street. I guess I'm the only neighbor that showed up. I did attend both neighborhood meetings, and I do want to commend Mr. Posey for listening to the neighbors. And there was quite a lot of pushback at the beginning, and I know there were a lot of people who were really upset, mostly about the townhouses. That wasn't a big issue to me. My issues were the drainage, which seems to be addressed. Still a concern to me. We flooded in the past on Second Street. I really don't want to see that happening again. So I'm hoping that this is going to alleviate a lot of that. My only other concern with the latest proposal that I saw is the past proposal, there was a 20-foot landscape buffer on Fifth Street, and that's gone now. Mr. Posey did explain it to me that it was done because of the lack of townhomes, and they had to readjust the lot sizes, and that's why we lost that buffer. It's a concern to me because of the nature and the wildlife. We're gonna lose out a little bit more stuff, but I do kind of understand why that is. Again, Mr. Posey has been very accommodating whenever I've emailed or called. He's always had answers for me, always been very professional, so I do commend him for that. My only other concern would be traffic, which was brought up too. I'm on Second Street, so I'm east of that. I see a real potential for problems with traffic coming eastbound on Charles Street down to US 1. So, and Charles Street right now is kind of like a washboard. I don't know if any of you have been up and down Charles Street any times recently. So, maybe down the road, right-hand turn only out of that development onto Charles Street. I don't know, but it's probably going to have to be addressed down the road. But I think everything else for me has been addressed as far as a neighbor. And again, I appreciate Mr. Posey's professionalism, and I thank you for the time.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to come up?
Can we just take a look at those
Oh, the
elevations that Bo
elevations?
asked
Can we
for?
pull those up again for Bo? Oh, there they are.
I'm happy. Thank you.
They're very pretty.
I just wanted to see if you could do it.
So your developer is not intending to be the builder, they're just gonna do the lots and then sell them off to a
Correct.
builder or
And
whatever.
we're looking to try to maintain some standards, and this is what we're looking to do, so. At least, we figured we'd at least represent what our vision is, so. It gives the neighbors some comfort about what they're thinking is gonna be out there, and at the same time, it isn't, fear of the unknown, so. But other than that, I just wanted to briefly mention that, Janice has been very nice and very helpful, and, to quickly just, I think, mention 2 points that, this isn't the end of the road either, that, there's still a long process involved here that are gonna flesh out, I think, some of these details that may still be concerns that are out there, that site plan, plating, You know, we have council approvals, like, there's a lot of steps in additional engineering that's going to
First of many.
dictate a lot of these details that I think that are some of the concerns that have been raised, and rightfully so, and they're on the record of things that we have to address. So you will see this again.
Very good, thank you. Do we have any more, anyone from public that would like to come up? If not, I'd like to hear a motion to approve case number 20-650000002.
So moved, including the subject to approval of the policy issues as stated.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Maria Mills Benet,
Yes.
Bo Bofamy,
Yes?
Tom Jordan,
Yes.
Lance Green,
Yes.
Newton White,
Yes.
Stan Schmidt,
Yes.
Chair John Junko.
Yes. Item 6, case number 21-20000001. 21-1, large-scale comprehensive plan amendment and property rights element.
No.
So the rest are all city items, correct?
Yes.
Housekeeping?
Yep.
All right, awesome.
Yep. All right, good evening, Penelope Cruz, Planning. So the proposed amendment is a property rights element. It's being processed to be in compliance with House Bill 59, which was passed in this most recent 2021 legislative session. The goal, objective, and policies that are in the staff report are pursuant to the suggested language that was there. They had provided model language in the House bill, so to stay consistent with the requirement, we use their model language. It does not create any new impacts for residents. It basically just documents that at the local level, that property rights are to be considered in decision making, in addition to existing protections already in state and federal law. So I'm just here to answer any questions you have.
Well, I'll let's go with Lance.
No, I got none, it's easy.
Newton?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Stan?
No, that's fine.
Tom?
I'd like to say something, but I
Yeah, it's just, yeah, no comments, no questions.
Bob?
I don't want to disappoint you. And I don't even know if this is applicable or not, but what about eminent domain? I didn't see, does that have any bearing on this at all?
No, that's a different
Okay,
that's a different piece
that's
of
what I wanted to
legislation,
know.
and that doesn't change.
And the other thing I have is more of a point of order, I guess. Why are we reviewing this? I mean,
Because you're the local planning agency, so by state law, everything that relates to the comprehensive plan, the land development code has to come to you first.
but there's no possibility we would reject this. I mean,
It still has to come before you.
Okay.
By state law,
Right.
you are the local planning agency, so any amendment to the comprehensive plan and the land development code, which implements the comprehensive plan, comes to you first.
so we would have the ability to reject this if we didn't like it.
You can recommend denial, it would be in violation of state law, your recommendation, but.
But then you could be on TV like school boards are across the state.
Yeah.
Bo just changed his vote.
That's all right.
Shannon's paying close attention to you.
She's not amused.
Okay.
I have nothing, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I don't think I'm going to jump into this one, so I'll also say nothing. I would probably, anybody from the public would like to come up and voice their concerns or opinions? No?
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you, this was an easy one. All right, so I hear a motion to approve case number 21-20000001.
Motion to approve case number 21-20000001.
Hear a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Maria Mills Benet,
Yes.
Bo Bofamy,
No.
Tom Jordan,
Yes.
Lance Green,
Yes.
Newton White,
Yes.
Stan Schmidt,
Yes.
Chair John Junko.
Yes. Item 7, case,
Hold on,
oh,
please. Can you give a reason? You need to state why you're voting no.
I don't understand the application. I think that Penny tried to explain it to me, but I just clearly don't have a clear comprehension of the proposal, but,
Do they want me to explain more? I can explain more if you would like to get additional
and
explanation.
if you do, can I change my vote?
Can we retract that vote and try again?
I think we can do.
Well, it passed, right?
So somebody who's voted in the positive, if you couldn't hear, because it was hard to hear, can ask to reconsider that vote.
Well, okay, if we can have Bo's concerns explained, where he can understand his concerns better, then I will be happy to make a motion to reevaluate
You can't.
the vote. Or,
You're the chairman, you can't.
huh?
You
It'll be taken
can't.
care of.
Move
Don't
we
worry.
Okay, well,
reconsider the
let
motion.
have,
It'll be taken care of.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr.
Newton.
Chairman, I move that we reconsider this motion.
approved?
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to second that one too.
Yeah,
I
okay,
think we can, I'll second that.
thank you.
So just to add a little bit of clarity, so property rights, individual property rights, the right to do what you're allowed to do on your property based on state, federal, and local ordinances. So every property's got a land use and zoning on it, which governs what you can do with your land. Everyone has property rights, from a single-family homeowner who has a property zoned to build a single-family home to somebody who purchases a commercially zoned property. They have the right to develop it in accordance with the zoning and the land development code regulations. So property rights are protected already in federal and state law. The Florida legislature passed this particular bill that just mandates that we add into our comprehensive plan documentation at the local level that property rights are considered in local decision-making processes. It doesn't change anything about property rights, it just documents it at the local level. Is there anything else I can?
No, that's
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we had a motion and a second on reconsideration.
Okay, yeah, we could,
That's on the table.
let's reconsider the motion, and the second.
We need to
We need to vote on, we need to vote to
We need to vote.
reconsider.
Oh, so,
And then we
okay,
vote on
let's
the motion.
have a motion to reconsider,
We've got that.
and then a
Yes.
We have a
second.
motion
got
and a
the
second.
motion
Okay,
and
then
second
we're
for
now the roll
reconsideration.
call.
Roll call.
Okay,
Maria Mills Benet,
Yes.
Bo Bofamy,
yes.
Tom Jordan.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Stan Schmidt.
Yes.
Chair John Junko.
yes, now we have a motion to vote, because it's open, so let's hear a motion.
Make a motion to approve case number 21-20000001.
And a second,
I'll second it again.
can we have a roll call?
Maria Mills Benet,
Yes.
Bo Bofamy,
Yes.
Tom Jordan.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Stan Schmidt.
Yes.
Chair John Junko.
Yes, if you would have said no again.
I'm within hitting.
Here's the gavel you were
Okay.
looking for earlier.
Okay, item 8, application LCD amendment, chapter 2, chapter 17 and 18, case number.
that's-
Well, you're
Wait,
skipping
you're
seven.
skipping one.
Did I did? Oh, yes, I
I did
did.
7.
I apologize. Case number 21-15-000001, amendment to Port Orange Town Center Community Redevelopment Plan.
Thank you. Penelope Cruz Planning. So the proposed amendment is to the Port Orange Town Center CRA plan. The only item that's proposed to change is an exhibit in the plan, which is the concept plan for the Riverwalk area. There was a workshop with City Council on April 28th, and the City Council gave staff direction to take any necessary steps necessary to amend the CRA plan as well as the Land Development Code to support the redevelopment efforts of the city in the Riverwalk area, particularly the 10 acres that to the south that the city and the CRA owned, which the City Council has recently hired Collier's Company to market and move forward with redevelopment in that area. So this is just fulfilling the wishes of the City Council's direction as far as moving forward with the necessary amendments to provide the necessary flexibility, clean up any old items in these documents to be able to move forward with redevelopment. So the proposed amendment includes 3 items. The first one, and you can see on the left side of your screen, is the current concept plan, and the right side of the screen is the proposed revised concept plan. So the first item removes the 3 area labels and the maximum number of dwelling units and square footage for each area, and revises it to a format that's consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan just has the the gross total number of maximum dwelling units and square footage broken down by office and retail, and so this is more consistent with the comprehensive plan. Also modifying the recreation conservation project type at the southern portion of the Riverwalk Trail to a dashed line, showing on the shoreline, providing a note that identifies that this is just a general location of the required public trail. And then 3, expanding the general area for the marina project type to further to the south to expand opportunities for development of more water-based uses. So with that, I can answer any questions you may have on this item.
Okay, let's start with Maria.
I think I'm good.
Bo?
Well, when will we know what the price of that property will be? Is that something that,
That's something that the brokers will be working on as far as they're marketing the property and moving towards that. This is just about the CRA concept plan.
okay, well, the city made the workshop actually made the recommendation to sell the property, right?
Well, they made they voted to hire Collier's company to market the property. But what's before you right now is just an amendment to the CRA concept plan for the Riverwalk area.
Okay.
It doesn't have any specifics about the sale or any specific development information. I don't have that information.
Okay, great. When would we know that? Just.
They haven't started, I believe, so once they move forward with actual, the marketing and moving forward with proposals, there'll be public workshops with council, CRA on that.
Okay, that's all we're doing. Thank you.
Yeah, what we're really doing here, it sounds like, is we're kind of removing those tight restrictions in areas and saying, okay, we're gonna be more flexible to give any potential developers just an easier opportunity here to fit what would work in the marketplace rather than what we're trying to force in there.
Well,
would that be fair?
With the next one, definitely. This one is really a cleanup item. As you can see, they had the total, before the concept plan had the total numbers broken out into areas.
Right.
And you can see area 2, that's the park, right? So we're not gonna build 400 high-rise units there, that's the park. So it didn't really make sense the way it was laid out on the concept plan, so it's really a cleanup item. It doesn't change any of the entitlements, it doesn't change any maximum numbers that are allowed.
Right.
It just makes it more general and flexible.
Right.
Yep.
Good. I like it.
Stan?
No.
Newton?
I'm good.
You're good? Lance?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, no, as you said, it seems like it's housekeeping and just cleaning it up, and I mean, from what I see coming out there right now, and I'm sure our fellow commissioners are seeing the ironworks going up on the fish, that truss alteration that they were talking about doing, they jumped right on that. So they're really starting to move on there, and it's nice to see progress going on there. I don't have any questions either. Are there any members in the public that would like to speak in regards to this? Come on up.
Commissioners, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive North, Port Orange. I've spoken against this previously when the city was going to hire this marketing outfit, and I want to repeat that. The ordinance that set up the Riverwalk promised a promenade along the entire length of the river that would guarantee public access and enjoyment of the river in perpetuity. Now, it's not a trail. It promised a promenade. So I think that even offering that green section there that's along the river, even offering it for sale violates that ordinance and what the intent was. So it's just I just recommend that you reject this, because that belongs now to the city, that piece of land, and any attempt to sell it will just ruin that promise. And once they sell it, the ability to actually create a decent path or walkway there will be almost impossible, because I don't believe that the city will be able to, I think the city will be overrun by the developers. And we're going to end up with other types of things stuck there for the enjoyment of the developers or for the new patrons to enjoy the water rather than the people. So I just recommend going against this and saying no because
you.
of that section.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public like to speak up?
Tim Bourbon, Community Development. Just wanted to kind of speak to what Mr. Reinhagen spoke about in terms of kind of the city being overrun by the developer on this situation. The intent, and we kind of explained this with the Colliers Group who's marketing the property, is they're going to come back with 3 or 4 development teams that are going to make proposals to the city. That will come back for a public meeting. At that time, they'll make their presentations, and the council basically develop on that proposal. So the proposal will be out there. It has been strongly suggested, and when we talked to the Colliers, that waterfront walkway, trail, promenade, whatever you want to call it, is going to be a path along the waterfront that's going to be open to the public, that the public can enjoy. That's the intent of the CRA plan, to make sure that the public can get out there, walk around the water, enjoy it. That will be maintained. These will all come back for public meetings, and that is something that council has stressed. We have stressed that with Colliers, so I don't think we're going to get a project where that is not maintained. And again, it's in the plan, it's going to be seen through. And as Penny spoke about, the changes that she was making to that CRA plan specifically call that out in that box then as a requirement then. Just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that helps. And plus the fact, personally, on a personal note, I'm walking distance from that property, my new house. So I'm rather concerned of its development, and I would be vocal if it starts to be developed in a negative way. So I don't have any concerns that that's going to happen with what I currently see right now. Anyone else from the public like to come up? No? All right, let's go to case number 21-2500.
We got to vote.
Oh, let's, I'm running along here. All right, I'm sorry. Let's,
I'll make
do
a
I hear a
motion.
motion?
I'll make a motion to approve case number 21-15000001.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, roll call.
Maria Mills Benet.
Yes.
Bo Bovemy.
Yes.
Tom Jordan.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Stan Schmidt.
Yes.
Chair John Junko.
Yes. Remind me not to drink Cuban coffee before I come to an application meeting. All right, our last item 8, case number 21-25000005, LCD Amendment Chapter 2, Chapter 17, and Chapter 18. I got it right.
Good evening, Penelope Cruz Planning. So this next item is kind of hand in hand with the other one, but it's a different regulatory document, right? So the first item that we just discussed before was the CRA plan. Now we're into the Land Development Code and making the necessary amendments to be able to move forward better, cleaner with redevelopment in the area there. So the amendments include 2 areas: the Riverwalk Overlay District and the PCR Planned Community Riverwalk Zoning District. The staff report kind of covered what an overlay district is, but just really briefly, it's kind of another layer of zoning on top of your underlying zoning, and it has additional regulations on top of what your zoning regulations are, whether they're more restrictions, additions, what have you, but that's covered in more detail in the staff report as well. The main amendments that are being proposed to the Riverwalk Overlay District is revising the boundary, and that's addressed the details of the revisions in the staff report, adding the boundary actually into the Land Development Code, the map, updating the list of permitted uses, uses of special development requirements, and prohibited uses, clarifying that if a use is prohibited in the overlay district, but it has been approved with the city council in an active master development agreement for a PUD or a PCD, that prohibition doesn't apply from the overlay district because they've already gone through a legal process to get that use approved in a master development agreement. And updating other terms and uses revised in previous code amendments for internal consistency in the code. Now, the amendments to the PCR zoning district similar to what we were just looking at with the CRA plan. Also revises just the format and the way the entitlements are described. And so it has it consistent with the language that's in the comprehensive plan as far as the totals and not breaking it down into areas. Removing various references to manuals, master planned infrastructure, and other regulations that were related to a prior vision where the entire 35-acre area was going to be master planned. We've moved away from that since, and we've got individual developments, still larger developments, but not one single master developer. So a lot of those regulations were based on having one single master developer. Adding permitted uses to the mixed-use project type, including outdoor fruit, vegetable, craft market, hotel, marina, water taxi, medical office. Removing the section about the interim conditional uses that expired in 2014. Other cleanup amendments to remove some duplicate text, clarify dimensional requirements, or revise the zoning district regulations in format-wise to be consistent with other districts. And updating the figure 17.4 with the currently proposed Riverwalk concept plan, which was the item you saw before this. So here to answer any questions you may have.
Start with you, Lance.
No, I'm good.
Newton?
I have to say, I had my concerns when I first opened the agenda and looked at it. And as I read through all of the documents, including this 27-page one,
Sorry.
I was very impressed at your attention to detail and the clarity at which it reads. And I'm very impressed with it. And I think it's certainly a great step to move forward in allowing something great to happen in our city. Thank you.
Stan?
I'm good.
Tom?
Oh, my only question was why medical office was added in there. Was there a particular reason?
Just to clarify, because the way it's listed right now is just office, and there's a different definition, so just to clarify that it is a permitted use.
Okay.
Bo?
Oh, just a lot of red ink.
Yeah.
Maria?
Did you feel like your paper was being graded?
Yeah, red.
I'm good.
Good. I also am in tune with everyone sitting up here. It's awesome. It is housekeeping and looks good. Do we have anyone from the public who'd like to come up in regards to this case? No? Okay, I'd like to hear a motion to approve case number 21-25000005.
Make a motion to approve case number 21-25000005.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Maria Mills Benet.
Yes.
Bo Bofamy.
Yes.
Tom Jordan.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Stan Schmidt.
Yes.
Chair John Junko.
Yes. Okay, we have commissioner comments at this point in time. Lance, do you want to start off again?
Sure. Tim, come on up, bud.
Didn't think you'd get off easy, Tim. It was a quiet one for you.
And it's just concept, but, so, out in front of that restaurant, out in front of the Riverwalk and so on, outside of these little dotted lines, who owns the water out there? Is it the river, or is it city, or?
In front, basically, on the water side, in front of Fish then.
Yeah.
That is owned by Halifax River Partners. They actually have some submerged lands that they own, and they also have some land leases are basically on the water then, because in their concept plan, they have a marina that wraps around that entire point as conceptually approved. They still have to get the approvals for it, but they either have leases or own that area around the point then.
So they could potentially put a bar out there that's accessible by boats only?
I see where
Wow,
you're going with
Lance.
this.
Not basically, they have to revise their MDA agreement, which would have to come back before this board right here. Because right now, all they show in that area and designate it as a marina.
Because there's one down south that's pretty cool.
I knew he was going that way.
Guess we're all going on Lance's boat.
That's all I got.
Newton?
I don't think you can be the applicant on that once you're on the planning commission.
I can change.
I can quit.
His
Newton,
resignation
you got
will be there
anything to
too.
add?
I do have one question. How far along are we on your software system that's going to allow people to check their own building permits and?
It is currently in the hands of the SmartGov, the company that's basically preparing that. They've taken probably about that much size documents from our staff that have put together all our processes and improvements and are putting it together right now to kind of create essentially the system that we will use. So they'll be doing that for the next 2 to 3 months, and then we will begin training on that. So we anticipate this basically going live in early 2022.
22. I'm looking forward to it. Very good. Newton?
That's
any-
it. Thank
That's
you.
it?
Yeah.
Stan, do you have anything to
Nope,
add?
I'm doing good.
Tom?
No, staff's been doing a great job. I mean, even the lawyers are happy.
Bo?
No, thank you.
I'm good.
You good? Maria, you good?
Yep.
Yeah, I want to commend, you guys are working hard to make our job easier. And I want to thank you guys for that. Your presentations, your wordings, your, everything is just very commendable, because it's easier for us to do these, and it works really smooth, and I know you guys are working hard. I know the building department's working hard too, because I'm in there a lot, and they're busting. And I just want to personally thank how everyone in the city has been working short-handed, but still quality work. Do we have any staff comments? No? Okay, any public comments? No? Then at this point in time, I'd like to adjourn. Meeting adjourned.